What's good? So I went ahead and finished up the EZA for the TEQ Golden Frieza. My guy has 2 dupes at 79%. Potential levels, back when, in the day I did level 9 additional attack and level 17 criticals. Even though his super attack is a massively decreasing enemy's defense, it might actually be better to go with a little bit more heavier levels toward additional attack. But first thing I wanted to do was test out the Resurrected Warriors stage within Super Battle Road, because I figured things will be much easier with this Extreme Z Awakened Golden Frieza, because, I mean, the unit was already very good as it was, but the fact that this unit, Extreme Z Awakened, makes it absolutely monstrous, for lack of better words. So for those that aren't aware, let's just go ahead and cover the stats. That way you're kind of familiar with the level of improvement the Golden Frieza got. So again, this is the Extreme TEQ Golden Frieza unit. Extreme EZA is level 140 max. Now the leader skill is very good actually. Once the EZA takes place, it's TEQ type key plus 3 HP attack and defense increase of 120%. So all across the board for a TEQ type, you're getting 120% in addition to that plus 3 key. So very good leader skill. You could actually run him as your primary leader within a TEQ team. Versus, for example, like Super Battle Road for the Extreme TEQ stage. You're probably better off running this guy instead of bringing Super Saiyan 3 Broly, because Broly's, quite honestly, a little bit of a liability at times because of his passive skills. So very good leader skill there. Again, the super attack will cause immense damage to enemy and also massively lowers defense. So again, on a Super Battle Road setting, that second portion where it massively lowers defense can be tremendously helpful. Now, in terms of the passive skill, in the past, before the EZA, it was damage received minus 70% and attack increase of 70% when HP is 50% or above. Notice that it was a little bit restricted, and he could be a little bit of a liability once the HP fell below 50%. So Dokkan Battle went ahead and made that adjustment with the EZA. So if we go through the new passive, it's pretty much attack increase of 80% and then damage received reduced by 80% when HP is 50% or above, plus an additional attack increase of 50%, and then you'll have damage go down from 80% reduction to 50% reduction when HP is 49% or below. So even though the HP falls below 50%, you're still getting 50% reduction to damage. So that definitely makes a hell of a difference, and it can make life a lot easier, honestly, especially within the Super Battle Road settings. So the links are pretty much the same. I'm not really going to cover those, information too much. Again, at 100% potential with the EZA, this guy will have HP levels of 16,941, attack is 17,253, and defense is 10,907. So a little bit of an improvement there as well in the stats, but I think the biggest difference really does come into the update to the super attack, where it's converted from greatly lowers defense to massively lowers defense. From what I see, that's pretty much lowering enemies' defense by 80% for 3 turns versus what it previously was, which is greatly lower defense, which equates to about a 50% reduction to enemies' defense for 3 turns. So if you think about that, and then the passive skill on top of that, where he's increasing attack as well as reducing up to 80% in damage received, depending on the HP levels, but it's a phenomenal unit. It was already a very good unit, one of the greater tanks in the game, and the fact that the EZA continue to improve this unit, it's crazy. I mean, honestly, I would rate this not as highly, but close to the realm of the Janemba unit. I mean, Janemba is probably still, in my opinion, the best Extreme Z Awakened unit so far, and this TEQ Golden Frieza is definitely up there in terms of the not massive, but because he's already good, but in addition to already being good, he became even better, which is crazy to think about. But again, first thing I wanted to do again was the Super Battle Road setting and just see how things are. Pretty much you can place this guy anywhere, honestly, like where the attacks are coming. It doesn't even matter if you have type disadvantage with Golden Frieza. Just put his ass there to let him take all the attacks, because he will. I mean, 80% is still 80%. That is a lot in terms of damage mitigation. So I don't know if we saw it in this footage necessarily, but even being supered by the Gohan unit, which is an intelligence type unit, the amount of damage received is very marginal. So it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no other words to put it. It's crazy how good this guy is. And honestly, it makes this team was already pretty stable as it was in terms of overall balance and the ability to both be a good offensive and defensive type team. But with the update to the Golden Frieza unit, it just became even more stable. I mean, it's probably one of the more stable teams that I can see here, because you've got quite a bit of qualities within every unit. You got a mix of units that reduce enemies' attack, being able to tank through Perfect Cell, where his attack and defense increases based on the nuking passive and whatnot. I mean, this overall team is pretty nice. And then the LR Metacooler army is also very good too, because of the higher the HP levels, the greater the attack and defense. Plus, it has the capabilities of committing to multiple attacks. And then you have the agility version of Metacooler, which is pretty good. Attack increases based on attacks received, and then has the ability to transform as well. So that's always a good insurance policy to have. If your HP levels fall below that, you'll save some rounds, with the HP consumption, and then you'll pretty much, have like 2 full turns of attacking without, sacrificing any HP, So this team is definitely very awesome. And again, the Golden Frieza makes things a lot easier. So it's been a while since I last ran through the Resurrected Warriors stage, and quite honestly, compared to what it was before, it's gotten a lot easier. Again, I haven't done this in a while, and this was actually the first run in a very long time for me. So a lot of units have come about, a lot of updates have taken place, so like things are a little bit different now than they were. But yeah, it just tells you, I mean, it really signifies how much of a difference and how many things are changing even over a short course of time, you know what I mean? So it's pretty crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, it really does come down to Golden Frieza's ability to essentially, like, whenever he's up, you have a little sense of comfort knowing you can place him where most of the attacks are coming. Now, in the past, with the 50% reduction, that was still pretty good, but a super could still do quite a bit of damage. Now, in this case, you're already getting an 80% reduction, so like if you put him in the first slot there, if he gets supered, back to back for whatever reason, I mean, the damage received is very little. You're really not gonna have to worry about shit. But in this case, if I remember correctly, in items, either the damage reducing or defense increasing item is used in this case. So in order to get the proper setup for the rotations, I just kind of kept Golden Frieza in the middle. However, if he was in the first slot, he pretty much would have tanked every single attack, even without items. I mean, that's just how good this unit is, and it really does make a difference in terms of how much easier it gets. I did include the Kid Buu unit because of the 50% increase to attack and defense if HP is 80% or above, and then it drops down to 30% if it's 79% or below. However, he does boost the allies' ki as well, so it's a good mix between attack, defense, increasing boost, also a ki boost. So like it pretty much works out. He's not one of the heavy hitters in the squad at all, but the amount of support he provides is well worth it. Now the Golden Frieza unit has the ability to hit for a pretty good amount. Now in this case, even with level 17 criticals, from what I noticed, he wasn't hitting as hard, even though the attack stats were pretty up there. Now that really does come down to the fact that the enemies are definitely stronger in this setting versus other Dokkan events or whatever the case is. So you're not really going to see the full potential of his attack power, so to speak. But at the same time, this unit is both good offensively, defensively. I mean, yeah, it's even as a supporting type, I mean, you're massively lowering enemies' defense. So he's actually helping the rest of the team out as well. So that, it's I don't know, it's just really fluid in terms of how they updated skill sets. I'm actually very happy about it. I mean, even when you first read the stats, you were already blown away about how much a very good unit could be improved upon further. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty crazy. But overall, I'm very glad they did it. And hopefully, you know, you guys have like at least 1 or 2 copies. Honestly, like even if you have only 1 copy without any dupes, this guy is well worth the EZA just for defensive purposes, and also, you know, supporting through lowering enemies' defense and all that. You don't necessarily need this guy to be a heavy hitter, even though he's got the capability of doing so now. You could purely just run him as a defensive unit, and it's going to massively help your team out. So even if you have only 1 copy or just 1 dupe, it doesn't really matter. Definitely make sure to go through the EZA, because it is going to make things a lot easier in terms of not just extreme, super battle road, but also like, you know, battlefield, where you're going to need a leader skill, especially like a secondary leader skill that's pretty good. Now this guy has 120% leads for all tech types, so it's definitely worthwhile to have him as an option for a secondary lead, if not a primary lead. So all those factor into how good this unit actually is with the Extreme Z Awakening. So yeah, I highly do recommend you go through the process. And the Extreme Z battle with this isn't too bad. Obviously the category that has the advantage in that, it will be the Wicked Bloodline. So it's fairly, you could actually build a free-to-play team and beat it if you absolutely have to. If not, I mean, you can bring in, you know, a couple of units. You don't necessarily have to build it all within the intelligence type. I ran through it myself, and I had a mix between all types, and it really wasn't a struggle at all. I mean, you just have 1 or 2 heavy hitters of the game that pretty much take care of business, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So yeah, I mean, just kind of going through this, and I didn't necessarily, you know, try to speed run through this. I was you know, basically taking my time as much as I needed, just to make the right decisions or whatever the case is. But it certainly did seem quite easier than last time running through this category stage battle in Super Battle Road. It really did. So again, that's pretty much it for the Super Battle Road setting with the TEQ Golden Frieza. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Oh, actually, you know what? What am I doing? There's more. There's one more battle. What the fuck was I thinking? All right, moving on to the last one. For some reason, I thought that was the last battle. All right, so this is what happens when you get distracted. All right, so talking about the last battle. This is basically just 2 tech types. Honestly, like, you could put Golden Frieza in the first slot, but it doesn't really matter because Angel Golden Frieza does have type advantage. And you want to keep the rotation set up where everybody's linking up with, you know, everyone maximizing the potential. So in this case, it's all good. Everybody can pretty much defend pretty well, so it's not really an issue at this point. Let's see how much. Yeah, so I mean, the evasion levels are kicking in. I think my friend, I didn't check necessarily, but he probably has some higher levels toward evasion. It seems like the friendly definitely did dodge a lot of attacks, so I'm guessing there's a few levels given toward evasion. Yeah, so I mean, it definitely does help, but even if he did take the attack, it would have been, I think, probably like maybe 60,000 max in terms of the damage pretty much taken at that point, because you had both of the Angel Golden Friezas in the rotation, so obviously it's going to reduce the enemy's attack quite a bit for super type enemies on the field, so that makes a hell of a difference. In this case, of course, we're going to put the LR Metacooler Army in the first slot, and then the Perfect Cell unit in the last slot, just to have them tank a little bit better. Obviously, you don't want the agility Metacooler receiving any attacks, even though if you lowered the enemy's attack with the super attack, he'll be able to defend pretty well. But you never know with the super attack when it's coming, so it's better to be a little bit more on the cautious side, especially when everybody links up better with the setup anyway. So it's all good in that regard. I mean, Cell is still pretty good on this team. I mean, he's definitely still useful, and you know, the fact that he can increase his attack and defense, you know, it definitely does make it worthwhile to include him on the team based on the amount of ki collected. So yeah, in this case, I mean, not really too worried about it. We'll probably go ahead and use the item here. Android 8 reduce or increase defense by 50%, and then just recover some HP. I think the attack increase for the Golden Frieza unit still does apply, even though you recovered HP, that additional attack increase, I think it was what, 50%, on top of the 80% should be applied in this case. So you'll probably see attack stats go to about 2 million plus. Just gonna go ahead and put him in the first slot. He's got the ability to defend and reduce damage by 50%. Got a defense increasing item of 50%. So no real worries there. And I don't mind putting Kid Buu in the last slot because, quite honestly, he's not going to be receiving that much in damage either. I mean, he will, but it's tolerable basically. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely. I mean, it definitely does make a difference. I mean, he was already good, like I said, but I think there was always that little sense of doubt, you know, if HP went below 50%, he's not going to be able to defend at all, really. I mean, he can, but he can't, if you know what I mean. Like, he's no longer a viable option to be your tank, basically. But now that he's improved and the tanking abilities still applies even when HP falls below 50%, that is a phenomenal update, honestly. I mean, that was one of those things I was lacking. It's almost similar to the Kid Buu situation with the physical type where he got an Extreme Z Awakening, and if you remember in the past, the passive skill only applied if HP levels were 80% or above with the attack and defense increase. Now that, you know, that got adjusted, even if HPs fall below 80%, you're still getting a 30% increase, and on top of that you get a key boost, I think, if I remember correctly. So, you know, I like offsetting stuff like that. Like, I hated restrictions where you had to keep it above a certain HP level or keep it below a certain HP level. If I'm being honest, I hate restrictions where you have to be below a certain HP percentage in order for the passive skill to be active. Like, that kind of irritates me because depending on how good your team is, like, you're gonna be able to keep your HP levels pretty high. So, like, having that sort of restrictions it's definitely a little bit of a, I don't know, having your hands tied behind your back, so to speak. You know what I mean? So it's definitely good that they went ahead and updated it and made it all across the board, at least coverage wise. You know, it applies for all cases. The overall boost itself might be different, but the fact that, you know, it applies to any situation, it's really helpful, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much here. I mean, a couple of its additional super attacks here and pretty much a done deal. I don't remember how many items are left over, but definitely quite a few left over, and it almost seems like, yeah, it's definitely much easier than it was before, for sure. But that is really the difference of Golden Frieza. I mean, you know, bottom line is you can put that unit, you can place the unit in any slot. Wherever the most attacks are coming, go ahead and put his ass there because he will defend like a champ. I mean, he'll be able to, they can bring all the shit they want and he's going to tank it. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's crazy, but alright, so this is actually the end of the video, not like earlier. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, this was the Super Battle Royale setting with the EZA TEQ Golden Frieza. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. Alright, peace out.